Hello there. This is a gold dollar of some type. This has a cotty edge on it. And this is a decent edge. It's a good edge. But it's nothing phenomenal. It could be better. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this razor back to a cotty. I'm going to take this to the vintage coticule that I have. This is the one that was separated. There's a video on my channel about repairing this coticule. I don't know what the vein is nor anything like that, but it's a beautiful stone. And this is my the coticule that the only other coticule that I have, and the one that I've used for years. This is a slate-backed coticule. This layer, the coticule layer, is fragile, and the mines usually, unless you get a big thick one, will back it with slate in modern times. And some of the vintage ones were, in later years, backed with slate. This coticule is backed with another type of honing stone called a Belgian blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this coticule to raise a slurry on this one. That's the very first thing we're going to do. And I'm going to raise a fairly thick slurry. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge back. A lot of times what you would do is run this across a corner of a stone, or run it across a piece of glass. But I don't need to. I just need to, I want to go back and re-establish a nice edge. And I'm working the heel and the toe a bit more than I'm working anything else. And you see I'm using the half strokes here. These strokes, I use this a lot of times with a bevel set. You see how fast the stone is cutting. That's a property of the stone, but it's also a property of these strokes. They're faster, but they're more complicated as well. And what I'm doing, I'm just trying to make, I'm using a bit of a rolling X now. Not much, just basically pressure and torque. But what I'm doing is I want to go back and sort of refine this edge a bit. Try to get the best that I can out of this razor, out of this stone, out of the razor's edge. When you're doing something like this, what you don't want to do is let the slurry dry up. If you let the slurry dry up, you won't get any refinement, and your edge will actually, it'll trash the snot out of your edge. I'm using a bit of pressure, using a bit of torque, and I'm graduating pressure over the edge of the stone, over the edge of the blade, excuse me. Now I'm going to create another slurry. This time, not so thick. And move to single strokes. And you see the slurry is already changing color. That's because of the torque and the pressure that I'm using. You don't have to use the X strokes to make the stone cut faster. I use, or I'm sorry, the half strokes rather. I use those strokes in the bevel set most of the time because I want to get the bevel set and I want to get it well, but I want to get it done and over so that I can move on with the honing, understanding that. Now watch that water. It's moving along the edge of the blade. Understanding that when I say that I want to get it done and over, I don't mean that I'm going to do it halfway, or that it's, you know, that I'm not super cautious about how well that bevel is set, because straight razor honing, whether we're talking about using something like this Coticule and as a sort of a single stone to hone with, or a progression of different stones, it's still a progression no matter what. And every step up in refinement is going to be built on what came before it. And so you really want to make sure every step in the process is as best that you can do And when you're honing on these narrow stones like this, remember I talked about a graduation of pressure along the edge? That's even more important on a narrow stone, in my opinion, because if I hone and I've got more pressure in the center of this blade on a regular basis, I'm going to create a frown. I want to move the stone, the razor rather, across the stone as evenly as I can to maintain excuse me, to maintain the evenness. Also, like, okay, I'm working the heel now, right? I want that razor, I want this razor as flat on this hone. Now I'm going to work the toe as I can possibly get it. Now you might be a better honer than me. You might be able to do this and lay that flat. Okay, well, I'm glad for you. I don't know if I can or not, honestly. But laying that finger flat in the hollow of this razor helps me not to lift up or lift the toe or in either way, so that I stay more even in honing. Alright, what I'm going to do now, I want to kind of even things out in that bevel. So I'm going to raise a little bit of slurry. And I'm going to dilute that slurry a little bit. A little bit of torque, but not much. And the thing is, what we're fixing to do here, I got off a Coticule B. This has been done before. It's nothing new. It's an old technique, actually. But I haven't seen a lot of people honing on Coticules do this very often. Robert Ortiz did it. I know once I saw a video of his. And what it is I'm going to flip over to the Belgian stone. The Belgian blue. Both these are Belgian stones. The theory behind it, according to Coticule B, is that you can get a bit of extra refinement off of this blue. Stand by. Well, I think I'll be alright. Off of this blue than you can off a Coticule with slurry. So I'm going to raise a bit of a slurry on this stone. Start doing a bit of refinement. This is, I don't know if you remember, I don't know when the shave video will appear, because I don't know when this video will post up, so there might be a shaved video in between. But the last shave video I did was an edge test shave with a cotty edge. And this is the technique that I use to bring that edge to the level of refinement that I had on it. And it was a fantastic edge. And I'm going to do a few rolling X's. Not because the razor's warped. This razor has been corrected for warp or twist or anything of the sort. It lays on the stone very flat. But there's a characteristic to a rolling X that lends itself to these narrow hones as well, and that is that the rolling X tends to concentrate on the heel and the toe. That's why you use one, because the razor's warped and you're trying to hit the heel or you're trying to hit the toe. So if I use a rolling X, then I'm honing a little bit toward a smile, which is what I want to do. I want to thin that a bit. I'm going to thin that out a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to wipe the razor, and I'm going to glass it. And what I'm looking for is an evenness to the surface. I don't want any areas that are duller in polish than the others. I'm also checking the very apex of the edge to make sure I have no chips or irregularities of any kind on that apex. Okay, and I'm satisfied that we're good with the edge. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to rinse the stone. And I know that, excuse me, I know that this stone auto slurries. In other words, if I use it with plain water, then the stone will kick up a slurry as I pass a blade across it. So I understand that going in. And the thing of it is, what I want to do, normally this is one of the reasons, a big reason a great deal of people nowadays finish under running water with a coticule. By the way, that's an old technique as well. But anyway, let me rinse my slurry stone. I just want to get the slurry off of it. Alright. Anyway, so what I will do is instead is I'm going to flood the stone with water. And I'm going to keep flooding this stone about every 15 passes. And that's just an arbitrary number. Because what I want to do is not give the opportunity for the stone to kick up particles. That's the deal and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm using a rolling X stroke. No pressure, no torque. And I don't have a set number of laps that I'm doing to finish. Just when I think that it's good. When I feel like what I'm feeling under my hand on the edge of this blade is what I want, and I'm getting close now, then I'm done. And it's starting to do that now. What it's doing is I'm getting a really slick, like if I was moving this over glass. Every bit of the edge is very nice and smooth to the feel of my hand. And it feels like I'm really not doing anything. So, in my opinion, I'm done. So I'm going to glass this edge. And I'm looking for a nice even polish all the way across the apex of that edge. That's lovely. Gorgeous. Alright. Then of course what I'll do is take that and strop it. And I'll test shave it. Thanks for watching. Bless you. I'll talk to you later.